All right, Diana Cuevas.
Sí.
Okay, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
No,
For
thank you for
those,
having me,
of
dude.
course, for those who may or may not recognize you, you are a tattoo artist that works at Les Tattoos,
Yes,
right?
Less Tattoos, aka Ladies Empowered Sacramento, here
Oh,
in
okay.
Sacramento, obviously. Yeah.
And you guys are an all-female
Yes.
queer
Yes.
tattoo shop, right?
Yes.
If
POC ran, owned, operated, and we're all. I believe there's like what, 7 of us? Yeah, right now.
That's awesome. And if I'm not mistaken, you guys are one of the first in
Yes.
your lane to do that here in
Yes.
Sacramento,
In
huh?
Northern California.
Northern
Yeah,
California.
one
Wow,
of the
what an
first.
accomplishment.
Yeah, Mari's doing the damn thing.
Yeah.
Super proud of her.
And you have really dope work.
Thank you.
There's a knitted Bowser that you have that's probably like my favorite one that I've
Dude,
seen.
thank
It looks
you.
so
Man,
realistic.
they
It's
look
insane.
they look easy, but they're so hard.
I mean, I would assume. I imagine it's a lot of
Oh, it's tedious.
detail.
A lot. But
Yes.
I love it though.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we'll talk about how you got into
Yeah.
tattooing and all that later on in the podcast. So, obviously, testimonial based. We want to get
Yes.
to know the deeper side of you and just
Let's
how you
go.
grew up and give your audience
Mm-hmm.
and people that are looking to book you or just get to
Uh-huh.
know you better a little bit more about you. So, what was your childhood
I
like?
was like, where do I start? See, I always joke and I'm like, I was born in Mexico and then I was shipped to the US. Basically assembled and shipped. That's my
Yeah.
little joke. But no, yeah, I was born in Michoacan, Mexico,
Oh,
and
nice.
I was brought
Michoacana.
Simon, and I was brought here to the US when I was 3 years old.
Okay.
So my upbringing was, an immigrant kid with immigrant parents that, all they did was work. So it
Yeah.
was a lot of like, I'm the oldest
Yeah.
of three now. At that time, I was two. Me and my sister are 2 years apart. But yeah, what comes with the territory of being the oldest
Hmm.
immigrant kid, first time learning a new language, first time adapting to things, first time like, taking on that like adult role because
Yeah.
you're the one that speaks English
Yeah.
and being that open door to communication between two worlds with your
And
parents.
and what was that like for you? Because I feel like that doesn't get talked about enough when you
Yeah.
come from an immigrant family and
Mm-hmm.
having to bridge the gap of the communication and you take on a lot of like reading mail and
Mm-hmm.
documents
Oh
and
man.
calling places. Like, what
Yeah,
was that
yeah.
like for you?
In retrospect, now that I think about it, at that time I didn't understand. I just knew it had to get done.
Yeah.
Somebody had to take on a leadership role, even though I was so young. Like I feel like I remember being a kid and reading like legal documents, and I'm just like, shit, how do I translate this? I don't know what this means.
Yeah.
This is a different type of English that is like far more advanced than my fifth grade,
Yeah.
reading level at that
Yeah.
time, and typical parents' reaction is like, you should know because you're going to school and you know English and blah blah blah, and you're just like, shit. Well, I'm trying. I'm just
Yeah.
a baby. But yeah, like it's a lot of that growing up really fast,
Yeah.
taking on a lot of responsibility very early on, and just realizing that you have to do more for your family as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was the oldest. I'm the oldest as far as like any grandkids or anything like that.
Yeah.
So all my cousins were younger than me.
Yeah.
So that responsibility of being the one to like, hey, I'm the first one to do this. I have to make sure I pave the way for everybody else to be good.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that sense
girl.
of responsibility is something that's really deep rooted in me that even now to this day I still struggle with.
Oh, same.
You know?
Same. I find, and you know what? Sometimes when I look back at my own story and I
Yeah.
think about the times that I did stray,
Yeah.
and I think about in those moments
Mm.
the letdown that I felt and like knew that I was being to everyone, and even now that I've changed my life so much, there's a vindication that comes with that because you're like, well, look at all those things that I went through. I'm still
Yeah.
here. I still turned out okay, but there
Yeah.
is that little part of you that like, damn, I
There's
was
a
a
and there's a part of you that I'm like, damn, like I wish I could have had that normal childhood or that
yeah.
like that sense of just not having to worry about my little sister, my cousins, like are they good or
Mm-hmm.
as the oldest going to school, like is anybody messing with them? Are they
Mm-hmm.
protected? And like part of me is like, oh, I wish I would have been like more relaxed and be able to enjoy and just be a kid. But another part of me is like, if I didn't go through those things, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now
Mm-hmm.
because that molded my character to be who I am. And I do it all over again,
Yeah, I
you know?
agree. Better us than
Yeah,
them, right?
exactly. I feel
Yes.
like some people have that calling. And for me, I didn't understand it then, but I understand it now. And
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And you know what? I think it's so beautiful because I myself, my mom's an immigrant here.
Hmm.
She's from Mexicali and first generation
Yeah.
Mexican American, oldest daughter, first
Yeah, dude.
granddaughter, first niece, no, you know,
All the
and
first.
all the first,
Yeah.
right? And there is it's funny how when we're kids we almost look at it as a burden
Yeah.
because we're little, and then we see like when we evolve, right,
Right.
in our emotional intelligence, we're able to see the gift that it was to our family
Yeah.
to be able to be the
Dude.
ones doing that. And I don't know about you, but I feel like there's this like shift, with us like firstborn daughters,
Mm.
first generations, like we're really into the healing and
Mm-hmm.
being very like, okay, hold up, y'all. We got to like really look at the dynamics of the families and start breaking some generational curses
Bro,
that our parents
yes.
didn't know how to do. And that is a whole nother level of
Ugh.
hard.
It takes a lot of pain
Mm-hmm.
and suffering to get to the point to be like, all right, what the heck am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Like, when is this going to continue? This is obviously not working. So how can I? It's like putting a mirror to yourself now. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
how can I change this? Because obviously, like, you want to listen to your parents and you want to be like, oh, do X, Y, and Z, and you'll live a happy life.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen. And then you're like, okay, well, now what?
Yeah.
Now I can't look to you. Now I got to look within myself. And I think that's when those deep healing conversations happen. And that's part of my journey too. Like, I've evolved into that when I started. My real evolution started when I became a tattoo apprentice.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's when a lot of things that were like mundane in my life started coming to the surface of like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do that? This is another problem. And then I'm like, okay, all these things, and I'm just being tossed back and forth. And it was a lot of chaos.
Yeah.
And up until maybe like 5 years ago, that's when I started being like, okay, I gotta figure something out or seek the help that I didn't have.
Yeah. Is that because becoming a tattoo artist was so against the like cultural norm of like what your parents wanted for you?
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Like, I've been an artist since I was a kid, but it's nothing that brought money.
Yeah.
So my dad would be like, oh, what are you gonna do selling your drawings on the street?
Yeah.
Like, all the painters and all the artists, they're all broke.
Yeah.
For them, success is dinero,
Yes.
money. How
Yeah.
much is in your bank account? And let me tell you how
Yeah.
successful you are.
Yeah.
And for a minute, I was chasing that definition of what that success was. Working at corporate jobs, making good money, but hating every second of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's got to be more to life than this. So then I'm like, all right, go back to what you love. What is it that you like to do?
Yeah.
And my friends would always joke, hey, you used to draw, right? What happened with that? Oh, no, it's just a hobby, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And they'd be like, damn, you don't do nothing with your talent. And I'm like, it started to get to me
Yeah.
because people would tell me that. And I'm like, man, you're right. And then I would hear that often because I didn't have the courage to actually do anything about it. And then one day, like, I was just like, man, either I put up or shut up.
Yeah.
Do I want to continue this repetitive, mundane life of waking up early, breaking my back, breaking, you know, hard laborers jobs to sales, high anxiety jobs to just making paycheck to paycheck?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't, there's got to be more to life than this.
Yeah.
And that's when I pursued tattooing, and I found an apprenticeship and found the right people, because
Yeah.
it's also like aligning with the right people and them opening doors in your brain that you're just like, ooh, that makes me uncomfortable, but why? You
Yes.
know?
Yes. Isn't it a trip when you step into your
Mm-hmm.
calling and your purpose, how everything is like aligns,
Dude.
but is equally chaotic? Because
Dude,
then there's like
yes.
all these unsurfaced things that you now have to digest and freaking relearn about yourself or unlearn or
Yeah.
rediscover and dissect.
Yeah.
It is a process, but I think it's so beautiful because you actually find the core of who you are
Yeah.
throughout it,
Yeah.
and you reach a point of like, or I don't know if you're there yet, but with me, like kind of just going with the flow of what life throws at me.
Dude,
And I'm
yes.
like, you know?
I always tell people, and everybody, like, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but like, I used to be super anxious and very controlling.
Yeah.
Like, I had to control everything around me and make sure it was perfect. From like, even when I was a kid, I was the one in control of things all the time. Hit a certain age where I think it was like after COVID, when my whole world just fell apart. Like,
Yeah.
everything that I thought I had control of was ripped away from me, and I had no choice but to start from scratch
Yeah.
in every which way, shape, or form possible. Whether it's like my personal relationships, my professional relationships, uh, just everything that I thought that I could hold on to, got ripped away.
Yeah.
And it was then that I decided, fuck it. I was like, I give up. In the sense, like, not I give up on keeping going, but I give up on trying to hold on to things that aren't meant for me. I give up trying to swim upstream instead of going with the flow. You know, I give up trying to just go in a direction where I don't feel called to.
Yeah.
To please other people, ideas, or just like whatever expectations that I've put on myself from my upbringing. And now it's not that I don't care about things. I just don't let anything bother me to the point where it's going to change my character and who I am.
Yeah.
Like everything around me happens, but I stay true to myself.
Yeah. And I think so much of that has to do with being the oldest sister.
Yeah.
Like and I've been really thinking about this recently. There is a certain level of people pleasing
Yeah.
and self validation that comes with constantly being put in a position where you are meeting everyone else's needs before your own.
Yeah.
Your siblings' needs, your parents' needs, society's needs, just your extended family's needs, that we self-sacrifice so much, I think, as the eldest sibling, that we put ourselves on the back burner. Dude, so bad, and then we freaking we hit rock bottom.
Dude, all the time.
And I still struggle with that. Like, I still struggle with, like, being okay with, like, it's fine.
Yeah.
And not having that control. And, like, the dishes in the sink can get done later. If I don't do the dishes, that doesn't mean that I'm fucking worthless.
Or it doesn't mean you're a bad mom, or it doesn't mean you're a bad, partner, sister, whatever.
Yes.
No, yeah, I agree with you on that. And I was just talking to one of my Mari, one of the owners of the shop, the owner of the shop.
Yeah.
That we can't control things, and if it doesn't get done today, it's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't devalue anything. I just lost my thought process.
No.
What was the question again?
We were just talking about how, like, the OCD of control and being a big sister and things like that.
Yeah. So I just let things just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah.
Like, if I get to it, I get to it. If I don't, like, I try to have a routine.
Yeah.
But if it's not to the T, it's okay.
I just recently read a study that said that one of the biggest telltale signs of creating anxious kids is seeing their parents always be in a rush.
Yes.
And dude, when I tell you that slowed me down, and I was like, oh shit. I'm always go, 100 miles an hour. There's things that got to get done. Hurry up. Let's clean the house. And I realized, like, that's because there was a pressure growing up. And I had hella anxiety growing up. Yeah. Like, I was so anxious growing up because of that pressure. And now being able to realize that, I'm like, okay, slow down. Yeah. It's fine. You got this. It's still very hard sometimes, but, you'll get there. I want to double back to your childhood.
Yeah.
What kind of household did you grow up in? I know you said your parents worked a lot, but was there, like, hugs? Was there affection? Was there love?
No, none of that. It's like, I feel like now as I've gotten older, I'm the one that forces that affection with family.
Yeah.
But no, my family was very focused on working.
Yeah.
Working to meet a goal, working to do this, working to achieve that. But a lot of the nurturing aspect, it was like I found elsewhere. Whether it be like relationships or people that cared for me and things like that. But no, it was very, very lacking.
And how did it affect you as a person, would you say?
Oh, man. There's a quote that there's this woman that I follow, Sarah Almandi. I don't know if you are. She said this that really hit me. They're like, if you're not taught how to, what's the proper thing? If you're not taught how to love the right way, you'll learn to lick it off a knife. Something like that.
Ooh.
Something like that. Like,
yeah.
Don't quote me exactly, but, like, it's kind of one of those things where, like, I'm a very person where I learn the hard way.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what the easy way is.
Yes.
So when I jump into things, whether it's, like, work or personal stuff, I can't be told, oh, you shouldn't do this because it's the outcome. I'm like, well, I don't know that. Maybe I need to find out for myself.
Yeah.
And then the outcome may be what they said, but at least now I learned through the experience, and now I'm the one that can tell myself that.
Yeah.
So it's very much like It's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough. Yeah.
Well, that's also a sign of intelligence
Yeah.
too, not just blindly following and leading.
Right.
It's the older I get, I struggle with this because I'm like, okay, to an extent, I wish
Yeah.
I would have been able to discern wisdom that
Yeah.
people were telling me, but
Yeah.
then also it is very character building to learn things the hard way.
Yeah.
But that quote that, if you're not loved right or know how to love right,
Yeah.
you
You
learn
learn
to
to lick
lick
it
it
off
off
a
the knife.
knife.
That resonates so
Yeah.
much because and I don't know about you, but for me personally, the amount of times that I have put myself in a situation to suffer for validation and for love,
Yes.
and the effect that had on me, and
Yeah.
I felt subconsciously, I wasn't conscious of this, I felt I was deserving
Mm-hmm.
of that because life was always hard,
Yeah.
because everything was always transactional.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get the love unless I performed to this level or
Yep.
accomplished this or did that. Having taken that kind of similar, approach to life, your parents with you, how did this affect your connections with people?
Oh, hard, hard. I go back to the dynamic I had with my dad growing up. He's very hard as far as like you have to do this way and not that way, and it was always one of those things where I was looking to be validated by him. So it's always like proving myself to feel the love.
Yeah.
So I ended up putting myself in situations where I'm constantly proving, is this enough? Is this enough? And it's to my detriment where I stayed in places where I should have been out a long time ago.
Yeah.
You know, so that definitely affected a lot. I'm loyal to the core.
Yeah.
Like I'm one of those people. I'm like, I'm not gonna give up on you. Like, what do you mean? You know, like let's
Yeah.
keep doing this. You know, even though now I understand that loyalty does not equal love.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's one of the hardest things that as I've gotten older, have accepted, that just because you have history with somebody doesn't mean they love you the right way that you deserve to be loved.
Do you feel like you came to that conclusion with your father?
Yes.
Was that hard for you to accept?
Yes, definitely. It's a hard pill to swallow because
Yeah.
I feel, and I'm not mad at him for it because I know his background and his upbringing. For him to project that with me, his upbringing had to have been 10 times worse.
Yeah.
For him to pass that down, you know what I mean? So I like to not so much be upset at him anymore,
Yeah.
like I was growing up as a teenager. Now I'm like, you know what? I'll take what you can give me because I know that's a lot of growth for me to expect you to do at this time. People are set in their ways after like years, and they're
Yeah.
not willing to look at themselves, or it's not maybe they're not willing, they don't know how,
Yeah.
and you need community and you need support and you need people telling you, hey, that's not cool. And for a lot of like the Hispanic culture, from my perspective, what I've experienced is there's a lot of isolation
There is.
in the male community. It's
Yeah.
very macho. Like, I do this, I'm good. You do that, you're good. And we kind of show up at a family gathering and we're like, hoorah. And then we're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And there's no healing there. It's just surface level machismo,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
And because I know that and because I was around that growing up, my expectations of that are not who I am now.
Yeah.
I've accepted that this is as far as he's going to go in his healing from my perspective right now.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. And that is the power, like a true testament of power of compassion and understanding.
Yeah.
And I have a saying like, don't put expectations on other people to be who you would be.
Right.
Because you're going to disappoint yourself every time.
Yes.
Because they're not you.
Yeah.
And they're not going to react like you. And being able to meet someone where they're at and, accept them and still love them, but also set those boundaries to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And I feel like going back to Hispanic culture, that is something that is very hard to do. And I'm sure other cultures, but I can't speak on other cultures because obviously, but I think that's one thing where people are like, what do you mean boundaries?
Yep.
What do you mean you're going to call out when there's dysfunction? What do you mean I can't talk to you this way and insult you this way and that's not flying? And it's not even because it's being ultra sensitive. It's because part of emotional intelligence is recognizing when you are being detrimental to the people that you care and love about.
Right.
And love isn't necessarily all tolerant. If you love somebody, you respect.
Right.
when you're hurting them,
Mm-hmm.
and those boundaries that they set to protect themselves, and you change to the level of your ability to
Right.
meet them at the same place they're meeting you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's awesome that you've done a lot of growing to get to those conclusions, because it takes a lot.
Yeah, man. This last year has been a lot of like isolation, not isolation, but like self-reflection
Mm-hmm.
and just taking the time to do that shadow work, like being in therapy for the last I'm going on 3 years now,
Yeah.
and has really changed my perspective in not just other people, but the only person I'm in control of is myself.
Yes.
How I react to things and how I let things affect me, and understanding that people's projections or whatever that I don't like about what they're saying has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
It's nothing personal. And I
Yeah.
take absolutely nothing personal now. Even the people that have hurt me the most, I'm just like, that sucks for you that I'm not there anymore.
Yeah.
But I feel sorry for the fact that you have to live with whatever you have to live with.
Yeah. That makes me want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
You talked about experiencing the losses
Mm-hmm.
of connections, personal relationships,
Mm-hmm.
peer colleagues. How was that for you to go through?
Oh, that was tough, man, because those are the moments where you get triggered the most.
Yeah.
Like when you think about that, the first word that comes to mind is betrayal.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, coming from such a loyal background, like my parents have been together for I'm like 37, I'm in 36, 37, 38 years.
Yeah.
And that was the foundation for me. That was the image that I had. Like, yeah, you're supposed to be down. You're supposed to be loyal 100%, no matter what happens, ups and downs, whatever, right? So, coming from that and idolizing that partnership for so long and not experiencing that, it triggers a side of you that you're just like, shit, you know?
Girl,
And you have to
no.
face yourself and you're like, damn, you can't act up like that.
Yeah.
You can't handle those things like you used to back in the day, like
Yeah.
I used to be a very emotionally driven person. I've battled a lot of like internal, anger management issues as a
Yeah.
kid and things like that. Just from suppressing a lot of things that I wasn't able to express. Um, so when that word gets tossed out or I experience something like that, it's a humbling experience because you understand now that you can't react in ways because now there's deep consequences to
Yeah.
those things. Like, bitch, you own a business.
Yeah.
You got kids. Like, you
Yeah.
can't act out like that.
Yeah.
Like, and it tests your core because it makes you think about, man, what do you stand for?
Yeah.
Do you stand for yourself? Are you going to stand up for yourself?
Yeah.
Are you going to show up for yourself? Or are you just going to sit there and let it simmer and be the bigger person?
Mm.
And that in between where you're just like, bruh, it's like
Yes.
fight or flight mode. I'm like,
Yes.
let me handle this real quick
Yes.
because I know you're not going to disrespect me like that.
Yeah.
Versus like we've grown past that. I still struggle with that.
Oh, same.
To this day, like I still
Same.
struggle with that.
Same. And I think too, I struggle with it because I have this like deep rooted, and I think
Yeah.
this is a big sister thing again. Okay.
Yes.
I have this like deep rooted sense for like justice.
Yes.
And what's right is right and what's
Mhm.
wrong is wrong. And I guess some people could say like truth is subjective in the eyes of,
Right,
perception. Which to an extent I agree, right? Because we're all different characters and we all view things differently. But I think there's certain like principles and values that I'm like, how could this be debated?
Dude, and that's the thing. I think the thing that gets us the most, or me the most, is that how I can be so deep rooted in these core values of respect,
Yeah.
and I could never cross someone in any certain way to do that to someone or just any kind of betrayal. When it gets done, you're like, what? I'm more upset that they didn't come. They don't have those types of values.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what? How can people be like this?
Yes.
Like, what makes them okay to be like, I can do this and get away with it, or I can make somebody feel a certain way, and nobody's gonna tell me anything.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we're also in an age where nobody wants to have a confrontation, or not confrontation, but like direct communication.
Yes.
And when you have a direct communication with someone, as a Latina, sometimes we get that like, oh, you're just
Being combative.
yeah,
And argumentative.
you just want to like be what's the proper word? I'm looking not to like curse and stuff,
Oh,
but
you're fine. Go ahead, Curse. You're
it's
good.
like you're just being that stereotypical Latina that's gonna get angry,
Yeah.
you know. And it's like, at what point do we are we okay with that?
Yeah.
At what point am I supposed to suppress all these things? Because as a Latino culture, already we suppress so much, you
Yes.
know. So in our my personal relationships, I'm I'm super chill, you know. I'm so chill that when you get that side of me, you probably earned it,
Yes.
you know. And I feel like a lot of people can say, "Oh, Dee's super chill, like whatever. She's so blasé," and the moment that I'm not like that, they're like, "Oh shit,
Yeah.
she regressed,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Nah, dude, like you
Yeah.
earned this,"
Yeah.
you
And you know
know.
what I always find interesting? I was thinking about this the other day. It's always interesting to me that when you express emotion of anger
Mm-hmm.
or resistance or setting boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
people always assume that is the whole of your character and
Yep.
overlook the fact that, okay, I got to this moment of expressing
Yes.
my anger, but you overlooked when I took your BS,
Mm-hmm.
when I freaking was loyal to the soil, when I
Mm-hmm.
was super kind, when I let you walk all over me.
Right.
How was that not also the content of my character? Why am I
Exactly.
narrowed down to a moment of reactivity that, being the kind of person I am, was earned? Because
Mm.
I am so freaking understanding and I'm so gracious and
Right.
I'm so willing to communicate.
Right.
For me to get to that level is
Communication is
like,
key,
you
you know?
know?
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know if you experience this, but I'm kind of going through similar. I wouldn't call it like a rock bottom because I felt
Mm.
betrayals in my life, you know?
Mm.
But where I'm losing so many relationships. And have you ever like gone through that period and thought, is something wrong with me?
Yeah.
Am I the common, like,
Yeah.
everyone's departing from me? Am I
Mm-hmm.
the common denominator? And then you do introspection and you're really trying to figure out,
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, where did I go wrong with this?
Right.
Have you had that
Oh,
moment?
most definitely. I feel like, especially in my like, when I started shifting my life and becoming more of a like, when I started my apprenticeship, I lost social life, I lost personal life. You know, it was just family life. I missed a lot of events because I was always ready to go party and go hang out and I'm like, hey, pull up. I bet I'll be there in like 40 minutes,
Yeah.
right? That's the type of person I was. But once I became more focused on my career, that went away. I was working full time and I was doing an apprenticeship, you know, full time also. So it's one of those things where I lost everything. Nobody hit me up no more, you know?
Yeah.
No, my line was like dry.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. I guess we're going to find out. And then when I started, I'm like, oh, you know, I'm doing tattoos. And all the homies were like, oh, yeah, for sure. Let me pull up. Nada. Nobody hit the line, be posting it, and nobody's hitting me up. And I'm just like, damn, this is what it feels like, huh?
Yeah.
This is what it feels like to chase something that you love, and the people around you either aren't happy for you, lightweight hating on you, or just don't care,
Yeah.
you
Or
know?
passive
A
aggressiveness.
passive aggressiveness, you know? You see a lot of that. And I'm just like, it forces you to reflect a lot and be like, damn, am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
You know, like, it you start to question yourself, and then you outgrow that, and then those same people start coming around when they see you start moving up, and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, what's up? And I'm like, dude, it's all good.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not gonna get mad anymore. I'm just gonna be like, dude, welcome in. How
Yeah.
can I help you? What's
Yeah.
up? You know, because that doesn't say anything about me anymore. That says more about them. And discomfort from outside that window has nothing to do with me,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So now I'm just like, yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reached that point of it
Yeah.
being all good, and I tried to look out for like family and friends that dogged me before,
Yeah.
and I totally did out of the good faith
Yeah.
and right where you're at. And then they did it again, and I was like, you know what?
Dude, you
So I
know
was
what
scared.
though?
I'm the villain then. Nope. I'm deleting, and I
But
took
that means you're
everyone off.
doing something right. That
Yeah.
means you're going the right fucking way. I had another mentor say to me when I went to San Diego. He's like, when you start getting haters, keep going.
Yeah.
That's the fucking right way. Because
Yeah.
there's gonna be nothing but distractions of people trying to tell you to stop. You know,
Yeah.
be like no or blah 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 this and that, and I'm like no. That's when you fucking put your shoes on and
Yeah.
let's go. You know,
Yeah.
that you're in the right fucking path,
Yeah.
dude. You're
I
doing
think,
amazing.
oh, thank you. I
You're doing
appreciate that. I
amazing. I
thank you.
love
I
it. I love
appreciate
to
that
see
so
it.
much.
Yeah.
You know, because there is time, I think, because I share so much of my personal life.
Yeah.
Um, I actually, I recently had a family member tell me why another family member doesn't talk to me.
I,
And apparently it was one of my posts that what nothing to do with
Right.
them, but I think the shoe fit.
Bro, if the
And
shoe
I was
fits,
like,
tie lace, don't trip over your bullshit.
you know, and I was like, man, and a part of me, the old me, would have wanted to clear it up
Yeah.
and send them a little message and be like,
Nah.
hey, I was told this totally wasn't.
Right.
But then I thought, man, if y'all don't know the content of my character
Right.
now, or you can't come to me with that now,
Mm-hmm.
why am I gonna go mending relationships with people that are just looking for an opportunity
Yeah.
to just disregard or dispose of
Right.
me?
Right.
But when I was beneficial, it was all cool and repost me and
Right.
come over
Right.
and all this stuff. And it's crazy how you get to that place in your healing journey where you're just okay.
Yeah.
You're okay if it comes and it goes.
Yeah.
There's like literally no ill will,
Mm-hmm.
minus the part like if someone's in your face
Right.
testing you,
Right.
then it's a,
Yeah.
it's a little hard. You know? But other than that, there's like no, there's, I don't know, just acceptance, full acceptance. I guess that would be the word. What would you say?
And it's a ebb and flow, you know. It's like
Mm-hmm.
one of those things where one day you're good and then the next day it's not, and
Yeah.
then you just gotta sit with it and reflect. But first, I'm sorry you had to go through that, you know, because
Oh,
that
thanks.
shit's hard, dude. It's not easy, especially coming from people that are supposed to have your back, and
Yeah.
coming from like this loyal foundation where you're like family over everything.
Yeah.
And I still ride with that, but there's exceptions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I will pick and choose my circle more now than ever,
Yeah.
and it doesn't always include family.
Yep.
And
Agreed.
that I'm okay with that,
Yeah.
you know, because like I feel like family is who you heal from, and the chosen friends they have now is who you heal with.
Yes.
So in my healing journey, I've realized that I've had more people that don't know me show me more love than the people that know me. Because sometimes people that know you are attached to a version of you that they wish they still can hang out with, you know, and they still wish that they're attached to that
Yeah.
part of you, whether it hurt them or it didn't. And if they see you changing too fast or moving in a direction that like it's for your own betterment, deep down inside they know it still causes them discomfort. It's still kind of a grieving kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and they process that very differently. And yeah, just gotta keep going.
Yeah.
You know?
When you first started healing, did you have any expectations of what that journey would look like?
Oh yeah. I thought it was gonna be easy. I thought it was like, oh, this is cake. I learned that. Cool.
Yeah.
No problem. And then I discovered healing is a lot of introspection. It's a lot of sitting alone with your emotions and being like, why did instead of like, why me? What did I do to cause this for myself?
Mm-hmm.
The whole dialogue in my head went from poor me to how did I play a role in this? What can I do differently? And then from that, like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Oh, this with mom and dad, or this with sisters, or this with, you know, the dynamics of where I grew up, or cousins, or uncles, and what I saw growing up. And I'm just like, bro, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what that is.
Yeah.
You
Can you
know?
give us some examples of some of the things that you saw or lived growing up that like stick out in your brain that you're like, I know I had to change this or this wasn't right? And
Oh man, I don't want to share too much.
Yeah.
Because, you know, a lot of the things
Yeah.
that I grew up seeing aren't personal with me. But in my family, a lot of like alcohol like had a big factor
Yeah.
growing up. So even though like I drink and it's like seldom and I've had issues with that like on a personal level, that dynamic of seeing especially males in my family struggle with that and what I saw the effects of is something that still to this day I struggle with. And just like feeling safe around males and
Yeah.
that kind of like dynamic, you know, like,
Yeah.
and that's something that really caused me to question a lot of safety in partnerships,
Yeah.
you
I
know.
and I feel like this is I think this is an uncomfortable truth for
Yeah.
our culture
Mhm.
because alcoholism is so normalized.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what kind of event it is, it's
Right.
an excuse to drink.
Right.
And it's like we almost make a mockery and a joke of like the tíos que se ponen borrachos and
Right,
start
right.
fighting. But to me, actually, what was more impactful that made me realize, no, this is really wrong, is when I'm at a function and I walk inside and there's some random guy in there and there's nothing but kids inside and
Mm-hmm.
everyone's tossed outside. Why is this person in here that I don't even know with
Right.
the kids? And
Yep.
and even more so than that, bro, down to people that have all their, friends and their friends kids over, and everyone's kids are exposed to different things, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone's faded in the backyard, kids are in the room,
Mm-hmm.
you know experimenting and doing all kinds of stuff, and an adult wouldn't know whatsoever because
Yeah.
everyone's faded.
Yeah, I can tell you stories about that. Like you go to a party and you're just like, cool, I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go adventure with my cousins or my
yeah,
primos because our parents are wasted somewhere. They're like, oh, the kids are over there, cool.
yeah,
It's a out of sight, out of mind type thing. But yeah, I could definitely relate to that. Like those types of situations and just not being able. What stands out to me more now is like how we use alcohol as a way to connect when that wasn't an authentic connection to begin with.
yeah,
And now when I see those people that have struggled with it and come back from it and struggled with it again and come back from it, and then me and my own personal stories have had to struggle with partners that way, it's one of those things where it's a very triggering thing for me.
yeah,
Like it forces me to protect, and just completely cut people off when I feel disrespected in any type of way when it's in that dynamic. Um, I kind of lost my train of thought right
no, you're
there.
good. I think it took you back for a
Yeah, yeah,
second,
yeah,
which is
yeah, yeah,
totally
yeah.
okay. I often think to myself, take the alcohol out of
Mm-hmm.
our families, take the alcohol out of friendships. How many people would actually still be able to relate?
Yeah,
how
yeah.
how many people,
Mm-hmm.
like, I think in terms of my family, right, everything is so centered around alcohol.
Yeah,
Take that away,
yeah.
can you guys actually convivir?
Right. Can you have a conversation? Are you guys putting value into each other,
Yeah,
or just kind of one upping each other? You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, I agree, and I feel like that's where the loss of like so much connection within like like Mexican households and families is lost
yeah,
because we use that as a blinder to be like, hey, I'm having fun with my family. They're a good time. Everybody's wasted. Let's go.
yeah,
And that's great. Like we can all share. If there's a mutual connection, there's a time and place for everything.
yeah,
But take that away, and what happens?
yeah. Well, when I took it away,
Yeah, girl.
there was
Mm-hmm.
the glue that held me into that inner circle was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that it was a very hard realization
Mm-hmm.
to accept, and just being able to see it when no
Dude,
one else can
yeah.
see it. You kind of feel crazy a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of feel like, am I
Mm-hmm.
being a prude?
Right,
Like, am I
right,
being, like, don't get me wrong, girl, I still like to drink.
right, right.
I tear up an IPA.
We all do it.
but, but mindfully
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not drinking to get faded and like
Yes.
hungover all weekend and,
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Drinking for me now is like I'll drink if I want to.
Yeah.
It's mostly social, but I have no problem being at a bar with a non-alcoholic beverage
Yeah.
and enjoying conversation.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about choosing your circle now, you find those people that are okay with that and that are aware that, hey, I'm not drinking. Hey, dude, can I get you a fucking non-alcoholic?
Yeah.
Are you good? Like, what's up? And they're engaging in actual authentic conversations where don't feel uncomfortable. That's one of the best feelings ever.
Yeah.
Because that's genuine connection.
Yeah.
That's genuine. I care about you.
Yeah.
Are you good? You know what I mean? But it's uncomfortable at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I depended on this little thing to give me that little boost to relax. And now I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But I had my time where like I go in and out of
Mhm.
like having like no drinking for a couple months or whatever. And then, events happen and summertime is usually
Yeah.
very chaotic for us at the shop with all the stuff that we have going on during the summer. So it's very social.
Yeah.
But usually during winter times, I'm like, all right, more reflective. Let's see
Yeah.
what's going on. Let's see what we got going on for next year. Like that's when you kind of isolate and think about, because it's a distraction.
It is.
It's when you drink, that fogginess lingers for about 3 days.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like myself until
Yeah.
then. and then I feel upset because I don't feel like myself and I can't be
Yeah.
present the way that I would want to. Um, so yeah, that's where I'm at with
And I
alcohol.
think that shows like the intuitiveness that you
Mm-hmm.
gain from healing,
Mm-hmm.
that introspection that you're able to take. You're so much more aware of how things impact you, and even like outside of alcohol, the
Mm-hmm.
shows that you watch, the people that you engage with, the conversations that you're listening to,
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
I find that lately I've been
Everything.
driving in the car silent,
Dude,
and I'm
yes.
like, oh shoot, like I'm learning to
Yeah.
enjoy
Yeah.
silence, which is so weird because growing up was chaotic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sure you could relate.
Oh yeah.
Um, and it's the healing process is so beautiful because you just discover so much about peace
Yes.
that you didn't
Oh,
even know
it can
existed.
get addicting.
Yeah,
Peace becomes so addicting when you crave it,
yeah,
when you crave solitude. And
yeah,
that's something that I recently kind of like not stepped into, but like stepped out of because I became a little too solitude.
yeah,
You know, that people were like, "Oh, I like my coworkers know when I'm kind of like I want to be by myself
yeah,
type thing, and I do this thing where I do the fire pit in my backyard, and like Mari, for example, she'll just drop off fire at my doorstep, and she's like, "Girl, I know you don't want to talk to nobody, but here's some wood. Go
yeah,
do your thing." And I was
yeah,
like, "Oh, I love feeling so seen like that,
yeah,
and that means a lot to me, but being by myself became an addiction
yeah,
where I didn't want to be around other people for a while.
yeah,
And I was like, ugh, I don't know. I protected my energy for so long. I've just like it's became like a little sanctuary.
yeah.
Having that space in the morning, which like the morning is usually my favorite time. Get up in the morning, go to the gym, do what I gotta do, come back, hang out with my dogs, and just have that morning like just peace
Yeah.
where you don't do anything, you don't say anything. And then it became a night thing. And
Mm.
I'm like, well, shit. Now what? The only time I socialize is when I'm at work. And I'm like, I want to go home to my dogs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, damn, this is a problem. Am I
Yeah.
being avoidant?
Yes. Yeah, that's
You
what I was
know?
just gonna say.
And I was
Yes.
like, am I being avoidant to meeting people
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to hurt?
Mm.
And that's when I started to be like, ooh, girl,
Mm-hmm.
are you protecting yourself too much that you're not willing to experience
Yeah, or be
things?
triggered.
Exactly. Like, you can't heal by avoiding triggers that you need to work through.
Yep.
So I've been more open to that now and like allowing people to get a little bit closer. And man, when I tell you it's been an experience,
Yeah.
but it's allowing the right person
Yeah.
to come in and show you parts of yourself that you didn't know you were still hurting from,
Yeah.
and having the patience and the empathy and the capacity to be like, hey, I see that this is a thing. What can we do together to figure it out?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's not about letting anyone in, it's about letting the right person that is self-aware and
Mm-hmm.
that met you at that vibration of the same,
Yep.
like
Yeah.
sharing the same things. And that's completely been an eye-opener thing for me too lately.
Definitely. I almost feel like the whole isolation
Mm-hmm.
part, specifically for those like people like
Mm-hmm.
us that just people please and met everyone's needs.
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel like it's like just got to go through that part.
Yeah.
Like it's just gonna come with your healing journey. There's
Mm-hmm.
there's gonna be a point, and then as you evolve, you get to that point where you're
Yeah.
like, hold up, okay, I healed. What is that? What does that mean? I think I healed too much. I don't like nobody.
Right? Yeah. I heal too much. I don't like nobody no more. Like, leave me alone. But you can't do that,
and
you
and
know?
and to be able to have that level of
Mm-hmm.
awareness, to be able to be like, whoa, 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 hold on,
Right.
because I think healing. I think one of the fundamental part of
Mm-hmm.
healing is balance
Yes.
and
Ooh, that's hard.
navigating the center.
That's where I'm at right now.
You
I'm
know?
trying to navigate because I'm like, oh man, it's like I'm a very extreme like person.
Yeah.
Like I'm either this all in or this all out, and I'm trying to do the same thing. Like that, I think that's been the most challenging thing for me
Yeah.
lately is wanting to experience things that I've deprived myself from out of my own protection and wanting to also have this peace over here that I've worked so hard for
Mm-hmm.
and bridge the gap so that I don't completely go off this deep end
Yeah.
or I'm not complete off this deep end. So that's where I'm at right now. That's literally what I've been struggling with, and that's literally what I'm trying to like figure out how to balance both of those worlds.
Mm-hmm.
One that I would love to experience, and one that I've worked so hard to upkeep.
Yeah.
And it's scary, It's scary being like, oh, I really want this, and I can go all in here, but like it's distracting so much that I kind of haven't done what I usually do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like it's a push and pull, man, and
Yeah.
it's tough, but I'm here for it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here. That's why I'm a yes type person.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's go. There's a reason why.
Yes.
Let's go.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
Yeah.
You were actually, I prayed on it because I was like, I want this next season to showcase
Yeah.
different kinds of people and just show the diversity in different walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? A balance thing,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to testimony. And kid you not, I prayed on it and you came to the top of my mind. Because we've had a few conversations.
I'm like,
on
I've hit your DMs. I'm like,
you
dude,
know?
yes.
And
I
I'm
feel
like,
that.
I would love to pick her brain and figure out what's going on. And I think it's dope that you're a tattoo artist because we're all about showcasing, Sacramento as well.
Heck yeah.
So it's been wonderful to just chat with you the times that I have and just get to know you on this deeper
I
front.
feel like I've known you, because like the stories that you tell, I'm like, bro, I can relate to that. So I'm like, okay, I will, with my 2 cents, and I'm like, yeah, girl, talk more about this.
Yes. And me speaking with you now, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I bet you we could talk for freaking hours.
Oh, for
on
sure,
just
dude. So many parallels.
Yes. And you articulate yourself so well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I try sometimes.
No,
a
you
little
do
shy,
good. I know you struggled back in the day helping your parents with documents.
Dude, ESL student, damn, yeah.
You articulate yourself very, very well.
Well, thank you. That
and
means a lot.
I love all the knowledge that you've gained throughout your healing journey. And I'm so excited to see how much further you go. And
for you too. Damn, I'm excited for you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so to wrap it up, I may have to have you back for a
Let's
part
go.
2 because I feel like there's different things that we could talk about. Like we could narrow down on like a specific topic. But to wrap it up, because we are at time, what is the biggest lesson you've learned from life?
Biggest lesson. I think I go back to that. Loyalty does not always equal love. And we have to see the consistency and the repetition of patterns before we give our loyalty to someone and expect love, because that doesn't always align. And I think love, for me, it represents very nurturing aspect because I didn't receive that when I was younger. So everybody's version of love is different. But for me, it's that, but it's like I'm a little bit of every love language now versus I'm this or I'm that. And I'm like, no, I like all of them. I like to feel seen and heard and understood versus I want to be right or wrong. So yeah, loyalty does not always equal love. And just because you love someone doesn't mean that loyalty is reciprocated. That's right. And I think that's the biggest lesson for myself and acceptance. But that does not mean that I'm going to change the loyalty of my heart.
Amen. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a seed you just planted in me with that. I've been needing to hear that.
The outside doesn't mean I'm going to change the inside.
Yeah.
And that's what I stick true to.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
Well, it's been so awesome to meet you, Diana.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure to have. Thank you for bringing me on. I'm so excited.
No, of course. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. You guys have a wonderful night. Take care.